What up, all? Welcome back. Second episode now of Trading Unfiltered. Glad everybody came back to see us. And real quick today, we kind of just wanted to dive into a couple indicators that we both use for our trading, which are you're going to see they're very different. What I use is my thing. What he does is his thing. They're very different, but both work for us. And we kind of just wanted to touch on a couple little things that we use on a daily basis and we find value in. So, anything you want to throw out real quick?
No, man, I'm ready. Hit that intro.
Bet, let's do it. All right, so Mr. Sellers, let him run through his stuff first because he is masterful when it comes to some of his indicators that he uses that I frankly don't understand and don't use. But you take it away, and I'm going to learn a thing or two as well.
All right, man. Let's see here. One sec. There we go. So I'm using SHPH because this is a trade that I attempted on Friday, and I wanted to show this one just simply because I actually took a loss on this one, and but I want to show you what I was looking at. So I started attempting to short this around here, and the reason being there wasn't necessarily a great level on the chart, and it is a recent IPO, but an indicator that's always been a good one for me is relative strength index, RSI, and the 1 minute RSI to me, even if I'm just taking a small trade, just going for a few percent, in the middle of the day, whatever, is this one. And as you can see here, the over 70 on the RSI is usually a good indicator that this is a spot to short on the all time frames. It's sort of like with anything else. If it's over 70 on multiple time frames, it makes it an even stronger spot to short. But this one, it's showing a lot of strength. It's making higher highs, but it's at that certain time of day where a lot of times, there might be a blow off move, a fail, and
So let me. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to ask you something. Like I said, I'm unfamiliar with RSI too, so I'm learning as you go through this. So you don't like the short when it's below 70. Got that?
Right.
So let me just ask you. So that first RSI move over 70, right there around what is that, 10ish, 10:30 or so?
Yes.
Why not short that one?
Well, honestly, just because I wasn't watching it right then, but I definitely would have. No doubt I would have. If you go back and put RSI on most of my charts when I'm taking like a pop short, if I'm trying to catch a parabolic short, it's rare that I'm entering on one with the 1 minute RSI not over 70. It's got to be.
So RSI is safe to say is one of your main used indicator that, because we're both kind of confluence traders, like we want multiple things to kind of line up before we get into a trade. But for you, RSI, you consider that more of like a make or break?
Yeah, man, it's a big one, and I use it for covers too. And I was going to touch on this, but I forgot to mention. I use a lot of other indicators. This is just one that I wanted to touch on because I don't see a lot of people talking about it.
Same.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that do use it, but to me, it's really important, and it has been for a long time in my trading. Confluence, like you said, it's a huge part for me, and I like to. This is just one that I really like to base a lot of stuff off of because it's so powerful. It right here you can see on this blow off move that that I liked it actually because I wasn't sure. This was really trappy. It looked like it made this blow off. You see that high volume
Yep.
red candle, and I was like, okay, this is getting weak because it couldn't even make it over the 70 on the RSI, and there's a little bit of discretion in this because this might not have been the best example. It was just fresh on my mind, so obviously it fails here, and I think I attempted short. I think I attempted the short right here, which to me that seemed like where it was going to roll over. But when I saw it hold VWAP and it started bouncing off some of the moving averages, I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit trappy. Whatever. I think I was taking a small size short right around there. I think I added like right here and stopped out immediately when I saw this that little wick, and then the bottom wick covered the whole short, and it rocketed on up.
Yeah, dude.
And then I think I tried to short it again here on this little pop, looking like a lower high. And the time of day wasn't perfect, but I wasn't risking a lot, and I thought it looked good. Well, stopped out right here, and then after I saw this blow off move, I attempted a short again, and then right here I stopped out again. But now that I'm looking at it, the fact that the RSI wasn't over 70 on these with that high volume probably should have been an indicator for me not to mess with it. But there's like I said, there's some discretion that comes in with it, and this was a tricky one.
So ideally, you're wanting a blow off move with that volume candle plus RSI to be over 70.
Yes,
I got you. Okay.
yeah, that's ideally what I'm looking for, and I just picked this chart because it was fresh on my mind, fresh on everybody else's mind because it was Friday.
Right.
But one thing I will say, if you were going at this with a long bias, if you notice right here on this slam candle, that RSI is pegged down. I mean, it's at like 10, or I mean, it's deep peg. If I would have been in, looking at this with a long bias, I'd be looking to go long somewhere around here because of how hard that sell-off was, and just the fact that it pulled that far under the RSI. You see, it was like a deep pull.
Oh yeah.
So when I long stuff, sometimes I'm looking for something like that. Just
Gotcha.
It's kind of like if it was a parabolic short. It's like it's a quick, fast drop. But this was a tough one. This was a tough one for everybody.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
But all I really wanted to say about it was that RSI is an important indicator for me, and I think that anybody that shorts parabolic moves and just like shorting true strong extension, if they go back and put RSI on most of their charts where they did that at, they'd see that it was aligning with it, and it's just a good indicator. I used to scalp a lot, and I just scalp the RSI. I've got a friend that still does it. It's a profitable strategy. I mean, it's a discretionary strategy, but it's a strong indicator.
Yeah, it's not one I'm familiar with, but I know you've talked a lot about it, so it's something you've definitely intrigued me on that. You've mentioned a couple things you use with your trade idea scans just around RSI, so
yeah,
that's something we can definitely talk about at some point too in the future, maybe, because I'd be interested in hearing more about that myself.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk about it. But
good stuff.
Yeah, that's about all I've got on the RSI, and we can touch on it more later. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's an important one for me.
Yeah, I'd like to. We'll dive into more RSI stuff for sure because I know I'd like to get a little more familiar with it. Especially you've mentioned RSI on the large cap side, which is something I'm still trying to learn. But we'll
Oh yeah,
definitely iron that stuff out down the road, man.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, and I said earlier, I kind of fumbled on what I was saying, but this right around here, that should have been an indicator to me that it wasn't breaking back over the um the 70 area. That should have been an indicator to me that this wasn't a spot to start shorting. But I thought it was a confusing one, and I wanted uh, to kind of reiterate on that. You know what I mean? This this wasn't the greatest example. It was just fresh on my mind, and I wanted to kind of go over what I was thinking when it was happening. I mean, it might not have been the correct way of thinking, but I don't think anybody traded this the correct way.
Well, no, and you know how it is. In the moment, it's tough. Hindsight trading is the easiest trading in the world.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm just going over saying what I was thinking when I'm taking this trade. I'm thinking, oh,
Right.
can't break back over the 70. This is getting weak. But in reality, I should have been thinking, I don't want to short into weakness because that's something I always say to myself. I don't short into weakness. And you see that lower high. This was like a trap, in my opinion. This was a nice trap set. They made this little lower high type area on the 1 minute, and I'm shorting into it, thinking, okay, a little blow off move
Hmm.
above the highs, clear out, and then slams, but catches VWAP and starts grinding back up. That's and that with the RSI, I should have known right away. Just don't even mess with this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wicks and choppiness, but the RSI is telling a little bit of the story here.
That's good insight. Definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, are you ready to dive into some of yours?
Oh yeah, buddy. Pull up that beautiful Thinkorswim chart.
All right.
So one thing that I was going to talk about during mine was primarily volume related stuff. So I recently was on a podcast with a buddy of mine, and we kind of dove into some of the indicators I use and kind of how I trade. And from that interview, I had some people DM me some questions, just kind of asking more about those. So, mentioned in that interview, I use scripts to trade products. They're phenomenal. I love them. I'd recommend them to everybody. But every indicator I use is largely around volume. That's pretty much all I really trade off of. I use a couple EMAs, but everything for me is primarily volume. Um, so I use VWAP, of course, like probably 99% of the people out there. And then I use three custom indicators from scripts to trade. And they're all present on this chart. Like in the top left, that is the relative volume, where the average volume for the current time shows you the volume for the time and the percent change on that. In this particular video, it's not something I can really expand on because this is a screenshot from this chart at the end of the day. So the RVOL is kind of, I don't want to say useless, but for this example, it's not good. But this will be something that I can expand on further. We'll talk more about this stuff. But RVOL is something that I would need to show some screenshots more from open and, an hour after open, stuff like that. And then in the bottom left corner, where the volume is, that's a little more self-explanatory. That's just daily volume comparison. Takes yesterday's volume versus today's volume, gives you the percent difference. I just like to see that day over day so I can know whether the volume is higher or lower than the previous day. Just real quick snapshot. And the last thing and the primary thing I wanted to talk about in this video is the abnormal volume indicator from scripts to trade. But that is those little blue arrows that are populated on this chart with white candles. That is something from scripts to trade that I think is highly underrated and very viable from both a short bias or a long bias. But I kind of wanted to touch on that because I mentioned that in the video, and that was the one I had the majority of the questions around was abnormal volume indicator. And it could be because it's just not something you see on the charts unless it populates from that indicator being present on the charts, and whatever formula they've created to show those, kudos to them. But that's what it looks like. And it only populates when certain criteria is met. But on this particular chart, full transparency, this isn't something I shorted on. This is from Friday. I didn't short this. I was looking at other things, although this particular chart, this particular setup, I think was a perfect AM pop right at open. The AM pop at open right there, like that's beautiful. I love when something opens below VWAP, but then has a quick parabolic move above VWAP, but the pre-market high is still respected, and then it just fails. Like to me, that is a perfect short. You could have taken that short, risked the pre-market high break, easy risk level, easy cut, relatively easy short in my opinion, as far as that's kind of how I trade. And then that move from that spike down to the low a day, even if you would have covered well above low a day, you're still looking at a nice 10 to 15% trade right there. Like that's a solid trade. And I would take that every day of the week.
No doubt, man. And this, I mean, this looks like a perfect trade. This looks like one that you would take, that I'd see you taking. You know, I have trouble in the mornings sometimes with catching these ones that happen right out of the open, but you know, you always nail these.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't watch this one the way I should have. It was a day two play more so, and day twos have not been as favorable for me this year. Day ones have been much better to me, but this is a perfect setup for a day one or a day two. I love that setup when it opens below VWAP. Quick spike, quick fail. That's a solid 10, 15% trade. Pretty low risk. You just risk pre-market high right there. Keeps it pretty tight. And that's a solid what? You risk pre-market high off that? It's a solid 3-1. Like risk reward trade.
And it's, I mean, it's easy. You know, there's nothing complicated about this setup.
Yeah, pretty solid right there. Anyway, missed that. But one reason I wanted to talk about this chart in particular was because of that abnormal volume indicator. Like I said, it's from Scripts to Trade. Check them out. We'll put their website in the link below. They're awesome. Most of their indicators now are all in Trading View, but they do have other indicators in Thinkorswim, which I love. And this is all I use primarily for my charting is Thinkorswim. But one thing I wanted to touch on here, I think you or I both like sometimes to short some midday moves when you have that open fail below VWAP and then it climbs its way back up to VWAP midday. In that moment, that right there after 11 a.m. on that what looks to be kind of more of a blow off move above VWAP when it spikes, you know, right there at around 11. Yeah, right there when it spikes up, that looks like a nice fake breakout candle, like a quick volume spike. Looks like it's going to spike up, nice little blow off move, and then fails.
I'd short this any day.
100%. So nice little short up there, right there at that 420 area. And then if you would have wanted to cover when it broke below VWAP, fine. But if you're holding, and when it starts to curl back up above VWAP, and then you have a couple more abnormal volume candles come in, that to me would have been a major red flag. That one, it's going back above VWAP. Two, you got more abnormal volume coming in on a curl, which to me means this thing could really rock and spike farther, which of course it ended up doing with tons of volume coming in right there. So I love this indicator because if you're long biased, I would love to get long into that. But if you're short biased, that's also a great indicator to like let it go. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this earlier, and I was saying I wish I could be better on the long side because while I would have cut that short right there around 12:30, that's a perfect long. Like it's curling back up, volumes coming in. That's a perfect breakout, like a perfect afternoon breakout.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I trade on the long side sometimes, and this is the kind of stuff I love to see. You know, later in the day, breaks over VWAP, comes down, nice little wick here under this area, and then it comes up, breaks VWAP again, looks a little weak, wick back down to VWAP, and then starts
Bounced right
taking off.
off it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it can't even catch. It can't even get back down to VWAP here. Just steadily trending up. I mean,
So this is an indicator that I use it every day, and I like it because it's not really, it's only popping up when it's relevant. So it's not something that just crowds and clutters up your chart. But when it pops up, I mean, you notice, you pay attention. But for me, this is a very underrated indicator from them that can be used on either side of the line, whether you're short biased or long biased. But I could show 1,000 examples, 1,000 charts. We'll show a ton more where this has been used to help me on the short side, even from a profit perspective, or to show just on a risk management side of like, I'm getting out because I keep seeing these things pop up. Um, so just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit. I'm not going to go too much into the RVOL side of things because that's a little more in depth, and that's something we would need some screenshots and pictures from certain times a day. Really write it open closer to 30 minutes after open, even an hour after open. Same with the daily volume comparison. But everything for me, volume is king. That's really all I use. So all my indicators are volume based, but that abnormal volume indicator is, I think it's a slept on indicator with a lot of potential on both sides. Check out Scripts to Trade. They're phenomenal. But yeah, this right here, like, painted a perfect picture for me as far as like, if I'd have got short on that blow off candle right there at 11 ish, it was a clear painted picture to like around 12:30. I need to have either a stop in or my finger on the cover button because it's not looking too favorable from a short perspective.
I totally agree with you, man. And I'm definitely going to incorporate this into my trading. I should have already been using it. This is it's a great indicator, and it's, I mean, like you said, it paints the picture perfectly. It's
Yeah, and the cool thing about these candles is this isn't a hindsight thing. So maybe at some point we can show some live footage, but when that candle's forming in that 2-minute period, that candle's white in that moment with that arrow. So there's no delay. It's not like 5 or 6 other candles have to form before that shows up. It's right there in the moment, like, you know that it's present. So as long as you're watching, you'll know, and you'll know right there in that candle. There's no delay. Like, I think this indicator is great for, as a matter of fact, I know a couple traders on Twitter that are strictly long biased that run some big rooms that use this as a huge part of their strategy from the long side. So to me, it seems a very obvious indicator on the long side to use for potential moves, but I also think it's a great risk management tool on the short side, because if you're short a stock and you start seeing those things pop up, if you're not worried, you should be, because it can rip, as we see here in most examples. When you see a lot of these candles that get painted white with these arrows, it's ripping. It ain't selling volume, it's buying volume.
oh yeah, especially on something with a float like this.
Yeah, it'll absolutely rip. So, and this is a day 2 play. It wasn't even a day 1. So usually some of the day 1s you see these things, man, it can get real ugly real quick if you're short.
I mean, big volume on day 2 is bad. I mean, if you're short, I mean, like you said, but yeah, day 1s especially.
Yeah, it can get real ugly. Even parabolics, you got to be careful. You start, that para blow off move, when you think it's coming down, if you start seeing these things again after that blow off move, like, a lot of times it's going higher.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And this is something I'm definitely going to incorporate into mine, with the paras that I short all the time, because sometimes those paras are just at random times. I don't have
Yep.
I don't have a necessarily exact criteria on the time of day. I know a lot of people do, but this is a good one. This is good.
Yeah, so I kind of want to just touch on it. Like I said, I had some messages come through specifically about that one because it was more of an unknown. A lot of people know what relative volume is because their scanners have it, or DOS has it built in, and Trade Ideas has it built in. A lot of people have that built in now, so it's not as uncommon. And the daily volume comparison in VWAP, pretty self-explanatory. So I think the abnormal volume just sparked some questions and interest. So Again, same as always. If there's questions or comments, please, drop those below. We will answer them. Hit us on Twitter. We'll have our handles below as well. And pretty much it does it for me, man. If there's anything else you want to add into this thing.
No, man. I think we can go more in depth on certain indicators and things that we use later on.
Yes.
I feel like this was a good little bit of insight on what we think is important.
Yeah, it's a nice little starting point. But yeah, we'll definitely dig into this stuff more. And like I said, if there's questions, comments, please leave them down below. So maybe we know where to focus on future videos or whatever. Like I said, hit us up on Twitter and we'll do the best we can to help out as much as we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, brother. Well, this was fun too. I enjoy this. This is good stuff.
Same here, man. I'm enjoying it.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, folks, we're gonna cut it here and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Peace.